Welcome, FISPA members. We are here today for a webinar about LegalShield and ID Shield. Before Rodney gets started, I just wanted to talk about a little housekeeping here. You are going to be muted during the program. This helps us keep the audio clear. We do encourage questions and comments. On your webcast viewer, you will have a question box. If you type your questions in there, I will keep an eye on that during the webinar, and we will go through those at the end of the program. And I will be uploading the webinar to the FISPA website. I expect to have it up there by tomorrow afternoon. And if you want the PowerPoint from today, we talked about that. It's a pretty big file, so I'm probably going to put it up on Dropbox. I'll send you a link. If you just email me, I'm BJ Hansen. The email is bj@fspa1.com. I can send you the link to download the slides. We know it's big enough that if we just try to email it, it won't go through. So with housekeeping done, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Rodney.
Thanks, BJ. Good to be with you all this morning. Thank you for the opportunity to share a little more in depth about what we at LegalShield do. BJ prefaced it with the LegalShield and ID Shield, but we're going to go into a few other things beyond that. We also have a commercial driver's plan, which I'll touch on briefly, as well as small business plans for business owners. So want to have you jot down any questions you have, and we'll answer all those at the end and we'll go through it. But just wanted you to be aware of what we're doing. We really appreciate the partnership that we've had with FSPA. In fact, I'm wearing my lime green FSPA t-shirt that I got at one of the showcases here recently. And so I keep you close to my heart as we go through this morning. So, all right. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to have to restart this. I apologize. DJ, I thought we were all square, but okay. Here we go. Here we go. Providing powerful benefits, protecting families and businesses, helping benefits professionals meet more needs. They're LegalShield and ID Shield. I want to ask yourself, have you or your employees ever thought about asking a legal question, or the need to prepare a will, received a moving traffic violation, signed a contract, purchased a home, dealt with a civil dispute or divorce, had concerns about identity theft? Those are all the things that we go through and deal with. One of the main reasons a lot of people don't seek legal counsel, and I do this a lot with employee presentation meetings, is we recognize that most people, if you ask if you need legal help, most people will say no, because they view it from the standpoint that they're not currently being charged with a crime and nobody's suing them right now, and that's how they view legal matters. And while we deal with that, we also deal with a lot more stuff that people don't always link to having legal assistance. But the biggest reasons is people are intimidated by lawyers, they don't know who to call, and they believe it would cost too much. I actually saw a survey recently that showed that the average cost of attorneys across the country now is just over $300 an hour. And so it's not getting any cheaper for anybody to be able to have that access. What most people do is either ignore the problem or try to handle the problem personally. And when it comes to legal issues, most of the time that happens, both those things just make the situation worse. They don't make it any better. So we did a market study a few years ago, and these are some of the things that came out of that study. 90% of Americans say they do not have any form of legal insurance or legal protection. 2/3 of those say they've never heard of any such plans or services. The majority of people don't even know that legal plans exist. And more than 60% reported that they would be interested. So of that 2/3, 60% of them said they would be interested in purchasing a plan if they knew that one existed. So that's kind of the market data behind what we do. Bottom line, employee legal problems cost employers in terms of three things: absenteeism, reduced productivity, and increased health insurance costs. 57 million full-time Americans experience at least one significant legal event in the past 12 months. 40% did not seek legal help or advice. LegalShield was established in 1972, so we're approaching being 50 years old. Our annual revenue is approximately $450 million. We have an excess of 4 million lives covered presently, and there are about 2.1 million requests for legal assistance annually. We have a dedicated business solutions division with over 140,000 businesses in the U.S. and Canada that we provide services to as well. We just recently, in the last 2 months, hit some new records in terms of total memberships, and they're continuing to grow, and we're enjoying that growth right now. LegalShield gives you the ability to talk to a lawyer on any personal legal matter without worrying about the high hourly costs. For one low monthly fee, you have the ability to access legal advice no matter how traumatic or trivial the case may be. Under the protection of LegalShield, you and your family can live your life on your terms, worry-free, every day, every night. LegalShield now has also some apps that provide the ability to be able to access what we do very quickly and very easily off of your phone. With your phone, you're able to call your law firm, get personal legal advice on an unlimited number of issues. We'll write letters and make phone calls on your behalf. We'll review documents, up to 15 pages each, unlimited number of documents. We have assistance with an IRS audit each year. And we have civil trial defense hours if you're named as a defendant in a civil lawsuit. We also provide family and domestic services. There are some areas where we'll help you completely, but there's a 90-day waiting period for some of those things, such as an uncontested divorce, adoption, separation, and so forth. One of the things that I've used this for, a very simple thing, is we have an adult daughter who was born with some disabilities, and here in California, there are some wonderful organizations that provide services to those with special needs. And up until about 15 years ago, I was my daughter's advocate, and I had assumed, and when we learned of her needs, that a lot of those services would be available to her. What I discovered is oftentimes we had to argue with them and get on the phone and constantly bother them and request and demand before they would respond. I don't do that anymore. When there's an issue with anything, I simply pick up the phone, call the law firm, they write a letter. So when my daughter gets back after that period of time as a letter apologizing for denying her the service and promising for the delivery. That never happened when I was her advocate. It's unfortunate we live at a time when oftentimes in order to get the things that we're entitled to, we need that legal advocate to make sure that that's happening for each of us. So it's important that people access that. The other thing that the app allows you to do is be able to take a ticket and submit it to your law firm through Snap on a phone. You get a consultation with an attorney within 8 business hours, so that when you call and talk to them, they'll call you back guaranteed within 8 business hours. It's a little bit less than that right now. When I had my own attorney, it oftentimes was a matter of days before I got a call back. The other thing we now do is prepare a will, living will, and healthcare power of attorney that you can actually start on your phone. You can do it online. There's a number of opportunities now to be able to prepare that and do that. We're currently doing a number of will workshops with several of our clients, particularly in the hospitals, just to get the employees started in the process of getting that done for them. We found that while oftentimes people would sign up because they saw the value of that and getting that done, they just didn't take the time. So we've been providing a will workshop just to help them get started and get that done and completed, and it's been a very positive thing for all of us involved. So that's one of the additional things that we will do also. You have 24-hour emergency access. That means in a situation where you might be stopped, detained, questioned, potentially taken into custody, you're in a situation where you've been served with legal documents, you literally 24/7 have the ability to pick up your phone and within 3 phone rings, talk to an attorney to review that situation. We cover virtually anything, even pre-existing situations. And as a result, we have what we call the 25% preferred discount, member discount, which means in any situation where it could be pre-existing, where it might be a situation with DUIs, DWIs, those are all covered under preferred member discount, a minimum of 25%. So there is only one area actually that we do not cover in the employee situation, and that is that they are not allowed to use their legal plan with respect to their employment, either with their employers or with fellow employees. So we eliminate that from the coverage within that, but anything else is available to them. To be able to get started, you just push a button and start your will. You can work at it on your phone, go through that process, come back for any time you want to. And when you're done, you just push a button and send to the law firm. They review it, and within 10 days, they have all the documents back to them to complete. It's done through kind of a will questionnaire document, which we have hard copies of when we do the workshops, but it's available to them on their online as well as on their phone. Who's covered? Basically, it covers the entire family, but it's the member's spouse or significant other, never married dependent children, including full-time college students under age of 26 and living at home, dependent children under the age of 18 for whom the member is a legal guardian, or physically or mentally disabled children living at home. Our daughter would be an example of that. She's an adult beyond that 26-year age limit, and she's covered under our legal plan because of her disability. So it gives you wonderful coverage within that has been very significant to us over the years. Enrollees, we also have an individual plan separate from the family plan, so there's separate pricing. And enrollees who are not married, don't have domestic partners, and don't have minor children or dependents. The reason for that is none of the issues related to family law are covered in the individual plan, and that allows us to reduce the price for them on that. Everything else is covered within that. The issue at this point is, do you want to pay an attorney $250, as we said, is actually about $300 an hour nationally, or join LegalShield, where you're able to do that for less than $20 a month. The cost actually on a group setting, depending on the size of the group as employees, and I think most companies, most of you have less than 2,000 employees, so you'd be looking at $18.95 a month for the legal plan in terms of employee cost and no enrollment fee. As a business owner, we provide services for you as well through our business plan. Have you ever hired or fired employees? We've all done that. Had issues collecting debt. It's a constant problem of business owners. And in a situation where you thought the advice of a lawyer might be useful, then a dispute with a vendor, signed a contract. All those things are common occurrences. Again, a study that was completed a few years back said nearly 60% of small business owners who said they experienced a legal event in the past 2 years reported not hiring an attorney to help them, citing the high cost. Owners report spending an average of about $7,600 in legal expenses per year, with 20% saying they spend $10,000 or more a year. So there's a lot of money spent in that, and the issue is trying to find a more affordable and economic way of being able to access the attorneys that you need to be able to deal with the situations that you have need for. There are 3 basic plans that we offer for the business owner. You see they're called the Small Business 10, the Small Business 50, the Small Business 100. They're priced differently depending upon that, the number of employees. Businesses must be for profit and cannot be publicly traded. So those are the limitations on it. But you see that it gives different numbers of authorized users. There's unlimited telephone consultations under all the plans. You have legal calls or letters on your behalf by the attorneys per year, which sets out the limits for each size plan. Legal documents up to 15 pages, how many per year can be reviewed. And then it has debt collection letters per month under each plan in terms of what can be done. Trial defense. The big separation in the plans is the trial defense is not included in the Small Business 10. You see where it shows 25%. You do get a discount if you need it, but the other 2 plans include trial defense if your company is ever named as a defendant in a civil lawsuit. You have 75 hours each year, and then everything else is done on a reduced contingency plan for you. The other thing that can be added to that for $14.95 per month is gouSmallBiz. Most of you probably know who Fran Tarkenton is, the Hall of Fame quarterback, but they're a partner of ours in the small business arena, and they offer a whole bundle of services. Fran has been a huge advocate for small business for many, many, many years, and has a real passion for that. And they have really become a very, very good resource for help outside of the legal arena, but just unlimited business consultations available to you. They do do-yourself website builder, digital marketing dashboard, customer relationship manager, expert web analysis. They have a HR document builder, human resources. They have a huge online learning center. We get mentoring with Fran, online learning courses. They have weekly business updates. We've got software where you can do a transaction tracker. And they have business and legal forms, corporate minutes writer, and risk assessment tool, which is really kind of a neat tool. You can go in and assess your company in various areas and do risk assessment where they can go through and make some recommendations of some things that you can do. But it is another tremendous resource that a lot of my small business members actually use, business owners actually use more of the small biz on a regular basis than they do the legal plan, because it has become such a huge tool for them to be able to use. The other that most of you probably have never heard about, and I'm just going to go through this quickly, and where you have some specific questions later, if any of you do, but those of you who have drivers who are doing delivery on a commercial driver's plan, we have a specific commercial driver legal plan that we don't talk about a great deal, just because we haven't done that. We've limited. But it helps protect families and assets in favor of traffic accidents, help protect drivers' ability to earn a living. As those who drive commercially, it affects their ability to continue to keep their commercial license, even if they get tickets in their personal car. So we provide assistance to them to help them be able to maintain their license and to meet all the compliance things. But we do a number of things in terms of the driver benefits: tragic accident representation, license reinstatement, moving violations, DOT and non-moving violations, CSA consultation, property damage and personal injury collection, and 25% discount on other transportation-related legal work. You can see the cost of the plan at the top. And if it's done under a group with employees, there's about a $3 difference in terms of the monthly cost, from $32.95 to $29.95, and there's no enrollment fee. So it's something that, for those who have drivers and who drive, it is a significant benefit to them. Identity theft is probably the biggest thing that all of us are aware of, and it's becoming a bigger problem, not a lesser problem. My own CPA, about 6 years ago, he knows, obviously, that I'm involved with LegalShield and ID Shield, and we had a long conversation where he felt most of what was going on with ID Shield was kind of a scam. It really didn't work. Well, he got exposed to it about 2 years ago, and he's changed his mind. I don't think there's too many people that believe that ID Shield isn't real and isn't going on, and people don't have to deal with it. So it's become a thing with the Equifax breach recently. All of us have become much more aware of our vulnerability and, what happens with that, and the need to be able to, that we all have in order to try to be as protected as we can. These are just some of the statistics given from the impact of identity theft in America. 16.6 million people, or 7% of the entire U.S. residents age 16 or older, were victims of one or more incidents of identity theft. Financially, $24.7 billion direct or indirect losses. That's the total cost within that, which is huge. And then you've got 6 million people, 36% of identity theft victims, reported moderate or severe emotional distress. So it's impactful for all of us in terms of what we're doing. It's very disheartening to face that without any assistance within that. I watched a program it's probably been a year and a half ago now, where they interviewed a former identity thief who now is working with law enforcement. And he shared a situation where a financial institution, which all of you deal with, had him on the line along with the real person, asking questions, trying to determine who the real person was. The scary thing is that he was able to be determined to have been the real person when he was not. And the reason for that is they questioned him. He's got a screen in front of him with all the information and could very quickly answer them. If you think about it, if somebody called you and started asking you information, if you don't have it there for reference, you're going to think about it for a minute and hem and haw a little bit before you answer the question. But that's what's taking place, and it's becoming much more sophisticated as it continues to develop. And at the present time, it's not going to get any better in terms of what's happening. Identity theft is still the number one consumer complaint category in America, and it manifests itself in many ways. Credit fraud, which most people are aware of and understand what it is. Social Security fraud, which comes to employment issues, where people use fraudulent information to get a job, and then don't pay their taxes, and then the person like you or I, whose Social Security number was used to get the job, as the IRS come after us asking why we're not paying the taxes on that income that we did not receive because somebody else got it. Driver's license fraud, there's a lot of that here in California. And within that, it's a very simple process for them. They can buy the information from somebody to swap meet any weekend for about $30 per identity to be able to do that. Probably the scariest of all is really medical fraud. Medical fraud isn't the financial side, although it can have that. The real risk to medical fraud is your medical records. And here in the state of California, I live here, so I'm obviously more familiar with it. But because of privacy laws, if you suspect that somebody has utilized your medical insurance someplace, and you get a notice that somebody went in and had something done and it's not you, if you call that facility, be it a hospital, emergency, medical clinic, they're going to ask you all the qualified information to determine who you are, and they're going to have that information. And then you're going to say, well, it wasn't me, I'd like a copy of it. Well, the minute they think that it's not your information, they can't give you that information by law in the state of California. That's how the privacy laws work. So you can't find out what it is that they have that was fraudulent or incorrectly entered. And the risk to you and I when that happens is if within a relatively short period of time we go back in and have a medical emergency, and suddenly our blood type has been changed. Or weren't IV positive, now we are IV positive. So there's a number of things like that. That's where that becomes the riskiest to all of us. You don't hear a great deal about that, but you do hear a little bit about that. And it is, to me, I think, the most threatening to all of us. And you've got criminal and character fraud. And the biggest one that's going on right now is tax return fraud. There's billions of dollars that have been paid to people who weren't entitled to it in terms of tax return. And that's the biggest one. That's number one right now in terms of what's happening with identity theft. The biggest thing that we do is we provide complete monitoring to everything that's important to everybody. For your privacy, we monitor your Social Security number, date of birth, driver's license, passport, your addresses, email, phone number, and much, much more. We also monitor bank accounts, credit cards, and loans. Now, let me be clear with that, and you hear the company say the same thing. We don't literally monitor those accounts. You can't. It's illegal to do that. But what happens is we monitor what goes on in terms of the dark web and the things that are happening to see if any of that information is there. I recently got an email from Kroll, who is our provider, and you'll see that in just a moment, about the potential of an email. They found my email on a website. So they sent me an email, I called them and reviewed it with them, and we determined that the best thing to do is just kind of keep my eyes and ears open. They didn't feel it was a huge risk, but they wanted me to be aware of it and know that it existed, and they found that. So they're monitoring everything that's going on there. But that's really dependent upon you. As a member, you have to provide them the information, the things you want monitored, and they'll monitor whatever you want to have them monitor to make sure there's nothing going on out there that you need to be concerned with. You get a credit score, Social Security number, passport, driver's license, medical ID, email, loans, credit cards, bank accounts, blank market, website surveillance, and social media. All those things trigger alerts for you if there's anything that's going on. And the other thing with that as well is we do have the app, the ID Shield, on your phone, that you have access to that and you can see it immediately. You can get text alerts if you want that, as opposed to email alerts. The biggest thing that we do is that really sets us apart are really in two areas. One is what you're seeing here in gold. We restore your identity. And Kroll works with a team of licensed private investigators to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to clear your records for life. And we issue a $5 million service guarantee. Basically, Kroll provides these identity theft services exclusively to ID Shield members. Kroll, the company that is our partner that does this, is one of the world's leading risk management consulting firms. They're a Fortune 500 clientele provider. They are prepaid and ready to advise. I say that because when you call and talk to Kroll as a member and have a consultation with them, you talk to a licensed investigator, very unique in the industry, not talking to a customer service person. That makes a huge difference. Think of it in your businesses. If your customers have the opportunity to talk to somebody who actually does and deals with the equipment and technology that you're dealing with, as opposed to somebody that takes some information on the phone and gives them general information. It's a huge difference within that. They've unmatched service since 2003, and it's the most comprehensive identity theft program on the market, founded in 1972. Kroll recently won awards and has won over the last few years for the best cyber resolution company in the world. So these guys are sophisticated and knowledgeable and know what they're doing, and it's great to have them as a partner. Again, with ID Shield, family plan who's covered the member's spouse, and up to 8 minor dependents up to the age of 18. And for those of you, and we're talking to you about the employer groups, it actually covers dependents beyond 18 up to the age of 26, as long as they remain a dependent under the same definition as we talked about with the legal plan. Full-time students are still living at home as a dependent of their parents. So within it, what they do, they don't provide the monitoring, but they provide consultation, and they provide the restoration services to those dependent children in that age category. The additional thing that we provide, like a lot of other programs do, we have what we call a perks program. There's over 300 retailers that rotate each month with different discounts. Some of the guys that I work with have taken the time. I don't have time to spend the time doing it, but they've taken the time to figure out if you just went and utilized the retailers that you normally use and take advantage of the discounts, you'd actually make money on the membership. That's what they've said to me. So I will take them at the word, but we have an awful lot of them. It changes each month, and you get updates each month for that. This is the pricing for LegalShield and ID Shield for the employees. You see the family plan normally is $19.95. If you are the large group category of the employees, that's 2,000 employees or more, you can look at the $15.95, but it's $18.95 for the family legal plan, or it's $18.95 for plus $15.95 gives you the difference. There's a discount at the bottom you'll see for combining those things together. The total per month normally is $39.90 for the combination, and for the small group plan it's $33.90. The large group plan would be $28.90. So those are just the differences for the pricing, and there's no enrollment fee charge within that. According to Karen White, Executive Director of the Conference of Western Attorneys General, LegalShield allows ordinary business owners and citizens to have the quality representation every American needs when entering the courthouse or evaluating any legal avenue. According to Buddy Caldwell, Attorney General, State of Louisiana, LegalShield provides access to justice to all citizens. It opens the courthouse doors and levels the playing field for everyone. That's what we want to do. We have simple administration in terms of our plan. There's no long-term contract. There's no claim forms. It's a month-to-month program. We want to earn people's memberships and the desire to keep it by performance. We have what we call My Group Account Administration, which gives you access as the employers to your account and to monitor it. It's a portable, the rate stays the same if employees leave, and they can just take over payment themselves and maintain the same discounted rate. As I mentioned earlier, it cannot be used for employer-employee issues within the company. There's no risk of that, for them utilizing that against you and any issues they might have. We do get a large participation when we come in and do presentations, and the utilization is very good. Oftentimes, though, people can be retrained. Most of us aren't used to taking advantage of having access to attorneys on a regular basis, so we have to learn to do that. My son's been a member for about 12 years, and I still have to remind him. He talked about things that he has and trying to figure things out or needs some help. I said, why don't you call your LegalShield law firm? And he says, well, I just haven't thought of it. I didn't want to bother him. I said, bother him, you're paying them for it. That's what they're there for. So he's slowly learning that he has that. I used it all the time. And that's actually what got me into the representation for LegalShield, is that somebody introduced the plan to me years ago, and I took advantage of it, used it, and benefited from it so significantly. I saw the need and the value in it, and that's why I now represent LegalShield. Guaranteed issue product. The difference between us and most of the other legal plan providers that are out there is we actually have a service definition listing. That means that we, as LegalShield, hold the law firms accountable to provide the services that you, as the member are entitled to receive. And we guarantee that. Not up to the attorneys to determine what they do. They're accountable to us. And we actually give them kind of a report card monthly on how they're doing, what they're doing, any complaints we've received. So we're the ones in control, not the law firms. All the other legal plans out there, the law firms determine who, what, where, and when they do. It's between you and them, and you're left to kind of fend for yourself. There's no underwriting requirements to be a member and to offer this to your employees. Enrollment is easy. There's a lot of different billing options that can be done. The web enrollment we have available. We have electronic enrollment available. We have paper enrollment available. Most of those are done when we come out and do presentations to employee groups to do presentation. And we do that as a part of the meetings, give them an opportunity to enroll. But we also do the meetings when we have both web and electronic enrollment as well, just to make sure that the employees have information. Billing options are electronic billing. We also have self-billing. That doesn't mean you determine what you decide you want to pay each month, but you have the ability to control your own billing process and structure in your bill and how you handle that and monitor what you pay each month for your employees. It can be done through the mail, just the traditional old school paper process as well. Those are the billing options. Payment options, you can be self-pay, bank draft, you can do checking, savings, credit cards. There's a number of options for payment that we have through employees. Most are put on through payroll deduction, and that's what we encourage because it gives you the most control. There are some companies that do offer our services on a partial fringe basis and some that do a full fringe. There's very few that do, but we found recently that oftentimes companies have offered at least the ID Shield and the employee coverage, so the individual coverage on the ID Shield, which amounts to about $8.95 per month to their employee, and then give them the option of paying the difference to cover their families just to make sure that they have that. The reason for that is that sometimes that can be kind of an early warning to you as the business owner that there may be an issue with some type of a breach on information if you have a number of employees that are suddenly having some issues with identity theft. So it becomes an early warning opportunity for you as well. The next steps is a survey I can send to you. Don't need to do that. We'll forward that to you and go through that. One of the things I wanted to offer in the past, some of you may have met us at some of the showcase trade shows that we've been at over the last 5 years, and we've got to meet an awful lot of you and work with a good number of members, and it's been a win-win situation for us. But one of the challenges, and it always is as you meet us and talk with us, and then you want to kind of introduce us to the employees how we do that. I'm on the West Coast and Scott is on the East Coast, and there's a lot of space in between. And we've partnered with a number of other associates like Scott and myself to be able to do that. But one of the things that we're exploring is how we can be more directly involved, at least initially, with any employers, employee groups to do initial presentations. And it's a matter of economics because it's difficult for us to justify that with a very small group. But if we have employee groups of, let's say 30 employees or more, then it justifies our spending the time and money to be able to travel, to be able to be there and do that. So we aren't paid by LegalShield. We're independent representatives, so we pay our own way. We pay our costs. We pay for all our materials. But it's not like a State Farm agent or a farmer's agent who has some support corporately that way. We take care of everything ourselves primarily in terms of doing that. So we're in business for ourselves just like each of you are, as you own and operate your own businesses as well. So we understand those things. Let's see. We've gone through the information there. It's for illustrative purposes and so forth. It's a normal disclaimer that everybody goes through and has at the presentation. Kind of gone through that quickly, but I wanted to be able to do that and wanted to make myself available to you to be able to answer any questions and to go through that. So let me know if you have any questions. BJ, do you have any questions there that we can attempt to answer?
I do have a question. Does the gouSmallBiz do any website hosting?
Yes, they include website hosting as well.
Okay. The other question was, do you cover all?
Do we cover what?
The entire country. Do you cover the entire country?
Yes, we do. We cover all the U.S. and 4 provinces in Canada as well. So when you're a member, like I'm a member in California because that's where I reside. That's what determines where your membership resides with the provider firm. But you're covered everywhere in the country, wherever you go. You have the same benefits to you if I'm in Florida, if I'm in New York, if I'm in Illinois. I have those same bundle of benefits to take with me wherever I am.
Okay, the next question is, when a member calls in, do they talk to a paralegal or an attorney? Who do you talk to when you call in?
That's a good question. We're structured. I didn't touch base on that. We have a provider network across the country that is structured under what we refer to as a provider law firm in each state. Each of these are AV rated, which are amongst the top ratings according to Martindale-Hubbell of all law firms in the country that you will find. Their role is to intake all the requests for assistance and then provide the service. Many of them provide the bulk of those services. But when you call in, what you'll do is, let's say that you have a question about estate planning. So you call in, they ask for your membership number, you give them the issue, describe what you're doing. You need information on a will, you need information on an estate issue. They then give you a file number, and they take your cell phone or whatever number you give them for them to call you back within 8 business hours. And it's always less than 8 business hours. And then when they call you back, the person that calls you back is the attorney that practices that area of law. We're structured so that when you talk to an attorney, be it on consumer law, real estate, estate planning, you're not talking to a lawyer who is a generalist. You're talking to an attorney who practices in the area of law that you've requested assistance in. And as long as they're on the phone with you, you've got them to ask your questions, get your questions answered. And oftentimes where we do the document review, they'll have you fax those documents in for review, and they'll call you and then review them. So that's how that's structured. Now, underneath that, where there's specialty items, I mentioned our daughter that had some disabilities. That's under the ADA, American Disabilities Act. And our provider firm in California does not have any attorneys who practice in that area. So underneath our provider firm are many other law firms, one of which is a law firm that does nothing but ADA compliance and representation. So anytime that we have an issue, like I mentioned, having to call them and they write a letter, that's who we get referred to, and they handle it and take care of it and do that. So we have the ability to deliver expertise in virtually every area of law.
Do you handle wills only, or can you help with living trust?
We do. We provide. What's included in the membership is the will, the medical directive, and medical power of attorney, both for the member and the member spouse. Okay, so that's and updated as often as necessary. With trust, they're done on the discounted basis. We did a special needs trust for our daughter about 2.5 years ago. And obviously, being a representative of LegalShield, I was going to use LegalShield, but just being curious, I called about 6 law firms in the area where I live who practice that area of law and got estimates for the cost of getting that trust done. And I was quoted anywhere from $2,200 to $3,500 to do that. We got it done. I was referred to a local attorney, went in and met with him, went through it, got it done. He gave me an estimate, and we got it done for $1,400. So that's an example. I can't tell you that those would be the exact numbers for you, but I will tell you that it's at a significant discount beyond what you would pay a quote on the retail level because of the minimum discount of 25%. So that's how a trust works.
Okay, that seems to be the end of our questions. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Rodney, thank you very much for your time and the presentation today. Thank you to all the FISPA members that joined us. And I will be putting this up on the website in case you have members of your HR department or management that would like to view this. And you can always reach Rodney at any point. We will be sending out an announcement when the website is up there, and I'll have Rodney's contact information with that as well. Again, thank you for being a member of FISPA. If there's any topics you'd like to see covered in future webinars, just let me know. And again, thank you everyone for today. Thank you, Rodney, too.
Thank you. Thank you, BJ, and thank you all for being there.
All right, gang, have a great day.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas to everybody.